Right now, there's $2.4 trillion sitting in cryptocurrency. Governments and institutions are secretly downloading encrypted data, waiting for a day that a computer can get access to it and eventually hack it. It's called Harvest Now and Decrypt Later. Recently, Google lowered the time frame to be able to then decrypt this whole quantum resistance, and we are looking at 2029. The truth is, most of the crypto industry is now ignoring it. But my guest today, Chirag, the co-founder and CEO of Diamante, is definitely in this right intersection of building towards solving this particular issue. He isn't waiting for the crash, just like everyone else, and he's building the lifeboat. Chirag, welcome to the Base Show. It's a pleasure having you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure being here, Sahib. How are you doing today?
Doing well. You tell me, how are things with you?
All good, man. Just keeping busy.
Fantastic. That's how we want to hear it, because you are right in the intersection of what we know as a threat, but not everyone else in the industry. Everyone else is still kind of taking it very lightly. And this is a perfect start for me to dive into the first question that I have, which is, you tweeted recently, the dangerous part, you won't even know you were exposed until it's already too late. Tell us, what exactly is happening in the shadows of the internet right now that everyday crypto investors are blind to it?
It's not only about the crypto investors. Definitely, there are like all the $2.4 trillion sitting in the crypto space. It's definitely exposed. So I'll just give an example, like what exactly that means, and like how is now and decrypt later. Let's say if you have a piece of information that you print on a fine paper, put it in an envelope, and you have like multiple of this envelope sitting with you.
Right.
Imagine after 5 or 10 years, you're going to get a machine like an X-ray machine that would be able to read through the envelope. So that's exactly what's happening. So right now, a lot of folks, known, unknown, they are harvesting the data, like the public data that is available with every transaction that is happening on multiple chains. So whenever they would be able to get access to the quantum computers with the high power, what they would do is they would just start decrypting those data. That means all the data are quite exposed, even if the quantum computers are not available right now.
Interesting. You say that. Of course, you've heard of this term quantum computing. And to a large extent, we've even heard of it being a threat to Bitcoin and this entire industry, which we today, you and I being in this industry, consider as a safe haven, as in digital assets. But you're now talking about this whole thing as a threat. How do we see this timeline being accelerated, and to what extent are we looking at it as a threat?
To be honest, like it's not a threat right now, and there, we don't have, a lot of people or a lot of institutions as well as governments that we know of. They have access to quantum computers right now.
Okay.
But definitely there are unknown spaces where people have access to it. They are building on top of it. So threat is something that you are already speaking about it. If you're already listening about it, it's already there, right? And I always like to say this: you don't prepare a bunker once the war starts. You start preparing beforehand.
Absolutely.
That's what is exactly that is happening, and that's the vision that pioneered the whole quantum proof ecosystem that we developed at Diamante.
It's interesting you say that, and of course Google has tremendously lowered its timeline as well. And what are we looking at right now? Is it 2029, as fast as quick as that?
So you don't look at the timelines in a way that, okay, if it is coming in 2029, you would then just prepare for it like by 2029. The thing is, there are two kind of people who are early to the space. They know exactly what's the future is going to happen, and the people who wait for it. When we talk about a lot of institutions, I have been connecting with a lot of institution players, that are seriously looking at the quantum threat, and they have already started preparing for it. So the timeline is never late if you start, hearing about it everywhere in the world. Google have started posting articles about it. The capabilities have been shown and made public. Then a lot of people in the Web3 space are talking about it. CZ tweeted about it. Then we see, a lot of, alliance forming within the quantum ecosystem, where the whole Web3 ecosystem has shown a big concern, but no one has actually acted on it. Like there is no solution out there right now other than what Diamante has. So we started preparing, a couple of years back, or at least more than a couple of years back, because we exactly identified, like we didn't want to wait for the narrative to become like a top-notch narrative, and when people start talking about it in a serious manner, and they start building on it.
So Chirag, in this regards, what would you say Diamante is, right? And what would you say it's building for? Let's say if you were explaining to a 15-year-old.
So Diamante is security/privacy layer for the whole Web3 ecosystem. It's a layer with three VMs inbuilt in it. Just to simplify that, what does it mean? There are three virtual machines within a single network that would allow easy migration of any DApp within the Web3 space. Either it can be institutional ecosystems, we have chain code inbuilt in it. Then we have EVM support as well. So it can be an Ethereum DApp. All these DApps can easily migrate within the Diamond ecosystem. And that would make sure that they have the same amount of quantum proof capabilities like the Diamond ecosystem what it has right now. When you talk about quantum, I just want to give a brief about it. It's mostly on the encryption side of it, right?
Right.
When you see a lot of news coming out, let's say Ethereum talking about a quantum roadmap by 2029 or 2030, they already started working on it. So you need to understand this. Any systems that are built like humans, there is a core spine to it.
Right.
And it's very difficult to replace the whole spine, and it's almost near impossible. I'm not sure how they are going to achieve that. You need to completely replace the spine, the core of the network, and start building on top of it by putting, NIST standards, quantum cryptography embedded within the core. So that is something that is quite difficult, and it would take years of work. And Ethereum network is like wonderful, for example. Like just taking Ethereum's example, it's a wonderful network. It is very developer friendly, and we have all witnessed the growth of Ethereum as well. But realistically, when you speak about embedding that whole cryptography in place, it's going to be very, very difficult. Nothing is impossible in the world, and that's why a lot of chains have started working on it early, like they've already started working on it. And when you compare that with Diamond Pay, what happens is Diamond Pay has been in operation since more than like 3 years on the mainnet. So it became easier for us because we were not as popular as Ethereum.
Correct.
But there is a lot of hard work put into it by the engineers that we have, the CTO that we have, that made sure that we embedded those whole ecosystem, the whole NIST standards, protocols within the Diamond layers to make sure Diamond Day was a quantum proof ecosystem. And actually, we have like more than 20 plus patents that we have filed on like quantum and AI to build the whole Diamond Day's quantum proof network.
Fantastic. So Chirag, what you're telling me is like all these legacy chains, right? I mean, Bitcoin or even Ethereum being so foundational, let's say developer centric so far. And we all know, we can tell that the threat of quantum is real, but you're saying that they cannot just upgrade their system to be able to fix and be quantum proof. But now, how do they plug in or leverage what Diamante has built to be that particular quantum proof layer?
So it would require a good hard work. So it would require actually forking the network to ensure that they restart the whole network. And let's take Bitcoin's example, right? So if the whole Bitcoin ecosystem wanted to be quantum proof, what they had to do, every wallet, every public key that is available, either it's a public key from a lost wallet, there is a public key there of existing users, they had to come to a consensus in terms of how they would start, embedding this whole quantum cryptography within the network. It's not going to be possible like just by having 20, 30 or 50% of the people switching to the systems. So it takes a huge amount of effort. It's not impossible.
Right.
But when you talk about, let's say, like I have been having very interesting conversations with a lot of custody providers, a lot of institutions. So definitely when you talk about this trillions of dollars of assets that are vulnerable to the attack, they definitely want to make sure those are, safeguarded. Then those are privately safeguarded because they are running a whole private ecosystem when you talk about the institution. So that is very important. And I truly believe that there is going to be a time where there is going to be a phase where, most of the systems would have this encryption in place.
Right.
But would it happen before the attack starts happening? That is the key question that we need to ask.
So okay, today, Chirag, we've always heard that, don't keep your funds in a hot wallet, right? And that's why people started using cold wallets, right? Let's not even talk about the exchanges or whatever. Now, question is, let's say I have my life saving in cold and hot wallets, and all of a sudden a quantum computer is able to crack it. Does that mean I'm exposed to having my entire life saving vanish? And what can I do to prevent that?
The thing is, when you talk about the threats, those threats are not, unreal. They are very, very real. And everyone should be concerned about it. I'm not scaring the audiences that ever listen to us. But the thing is, you need to be very realistically thinking about it. When you say that, okay, my assets are safe in a hot wallet or a cold wallet, let's say on a centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange, or on my ledger or any kind of, private storage that I have. But importantly, when you are doing transactions within the blockchain ecosystem, you are exposing your public keys.
Right.
there is someone sitting out there, harvesting the data that you have. It might not be the case. You would be the first person they'll come and decrypt your wallet. So unless you have funds like what Binance wallet holds,
Right.
right?
Basically, if you're a fish in a pond, you're safe. But
Yeah.
if you're a whale, that's where you need to start thinking a bit harder.
Absolutely, yes. And
But
that's why, that's why institutions have started seriously thinking about it. And a lot of institutions have been speaking with us for conducting all those POCs in place to make sure they have proper time to preserve the assets of the users they are working for and to make them safe.
I think this is a very, very valid use case. And I guess this is where and why you guys built Diamante, right? And I think if I look at the timeline, you guys went live on Mainnet in February, very recently in 2026. And, you've always said this, you've been a firm believer of first principles architecture, instead of just being something that was slapped on a blockchain that you guys built, right? But tell me more about this whole for developers, or let's say even for non-developers. What does it mean to being interacting with Diamante as a protocol or as a chain?
So it's very easy when you talk about developers interacting with the Diamante ecosystem, because we are supporting, like I earlier mentioned, like 3 different VMs. So it's become easier for anyone to come start build on top of Diamante, as well as migrate their existing DApp to Diamante. So that's kind of easy. But when you realistically talk about, a huge amount of retail users, token holders, whales, the true believers within the crypto space, everyone is holding crypto.
Right.
So then it wouldn't make any difference of utilizing Diamante's ecosystem, because it's the same tech, but it has core cryptography, that has quantum encryption in place. So it's going to be the similar experience while, experiencing any other chain. When you talk about, let's say, a lot of chains like that are focused on, growing the infrastructure capabilities, your TPS and everything.
Yeah.
Our whole core focus is about providing safety. If there is no safety, what would you do with the TPS? That doesn't mean Diamante doesn't have those TPS in place. With the quantum encryption, the size of every data is quite huge. So just taking an example, let's say with the ECDA kind of encryption, right? The legacy encryption that was built like 20 years before, the every data is in like small bytes, right?
Yep.
But with the quantum encryption, it's a 4096 encryption in place. So the data packages are in KBs, like in kilobytes.
Interesting.
Imagine a huge pool of data that you have that is you need to encrypt. So it becomes quite difficult on the storage part as well. And that is why, we have built those optimizer in place where the data packages are quite smaller in size that would allow the similar kind of experience and still be able to achieve those TPS where other networks have failed to achieve. So currently, with the Mainnet launch that we have done, we have successfully tested it. We can achieve northwards of 120,000 TPS with the same encryption that is quantum proof.
Wow, impressive. Chirag, tell us a little bit more about the traction that you have built around this whole ecosystem. Have we started seeing some interesting DApps or apps being built on Diamante? Because, for me, I'm really very curious to understand if this is what you guys are building as a core front. I would love to use and move my funds to a wallet that's perhaps building and using Diamante as a core infrastructure.
Yeah, so as of now, since the Mainnet launch that we did in March earlier this year, like almost a month back.
Very recent, yeah.
Yeah, that's very recent. So we have started stabilizing the network core. So we want to make sure the mainnet code is as stable as possible before we start embedding whole smart contract ecosystem within it that would allow access for developers to start building on top of it, dApps to be started building on top of it. That doesn't mean that people have not started building on top of it. There are few ecosystem dApps that are, very, very good that have already started building with the testnet. So one of the dApp I would like to talk about is the whole VPN ecosystem coming with the quantum embedded security in place. It's going to be launched as soon as we go live on Mainnet. As soon as we go live with the Mainnet on the smart contracts and the privacy features within it, that would make sure that people start utilize VPN with the same privacy feature, with the same security feature. And I truly believe that's going to be a really viral use case that's coming within the Diamond ecosystem. Then we have in-house dApps as well. We have built the whole payment ecosystem. So like banking, payments, and investment in a single layer. That's rolling out this quarter.
Interesting.
This quarter, yeah.
Bullish. I think, just from these 2 or 3 use cases, I would say it's already one of those case studies, or let's say instances that we could see a lot of retail, including myself, use basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we are focused on, we don't want, whole bunch of like hundreds of thousands of dApps that has no use cases, but we are mostly focused on bringing use cases that would be more and more relevant for the retail users. So I'll just take one example, like how we are interacting with institutions as well.
Yeah.
So the largest ferrochrome manufacturer in the world. So ferrochrome is a rare earth material that is being utilized, to create stainless steel. So, for example,
Okay.
the mic that you're speaking with, it has stainless steel. So it wouldn't be possible without ferrochrome. So one of the largest manufacturers in the world that they control 50% of the world's supply have decided to tokenize their whole assets as a stable coin on top of Diamante's ecosystem. So they have northwards of $3 billion in transaction, and they ended up writing a check as well within Diamante. So we recently did a press release with their investments and the whole ecosystem of their stablecoin
Yes, sir.
coming on top of.
Yep. No, congrats for that. Very bullish news, though. I mean, I do recall you guys raised a huge round prior to this last year, and of course, a very recent round as well. And now that you're shining some light on that, I believe it's one that comes with a very interesting use case, like you just mentioned just now.
Absolutely, yes.
But Chirag, talking about institutions, right? I'm curious when you start, because I've seen you guys do a lot of institution-focused events, right? Whether those are private dinners or I've seen you at conferences. We've met a couple of times as well. When you speak to these people, are they already aware of quantum and its threats? Or is it oftentimes you having to educate them and then kind of then convince them of something they should be looking into?
So up till last year, people were aware of it, and they thought, okay, this might be a speculation or everything. But what difference that I'm seeing with all the dinners that we're hosting, with all my institutional conversations, they are more than aware. They really are focused on finding solutions. They want to do POCs. They want to start right away. They don't want to wait for the actual quantum computers to go live and then start thinking about it. And that is where I think the difference comes between a retail user and an institution, because institutions are sitting with a huge pile of money.
Yep.
That is basically user money in their custody, and they want to make sure they are safeguarding it. And that's why the institutions are very bullish in terms of utilizing techs like Diamante because it's quite compliant. So I think we are the world's only quantum-proof layer that is MiCA compliant, and then we are following a lot of protocols like NIST protocols, a lot of signatures that are approved by NST in terms of quantum security, and that is what makes institutions more interested to work with L1 like us. We might not be sitting on billions of dollars of FTVs, but that is definitely, with all this interest in place, with whole the quantum ecosystem growing, the narrative picking up, and that's exactly what we are looking at in near future for Diamante.
Absolutely. I think you've been doing a tremendous job. I've seen you at conferences and being able to mingle and host dinners with the top institutions and having them in one place, educating them, and of course now having them move into more execution with you guys with this very recent use case and funding. Sky's the limit, man. Chirag, sky's the limit. I think it's just a matter of time that people need to really understand the depth of how soon we're going to reach that timeline, because a lot of people still feel like quantum's not going to affect us until 2050, but I think the reality is like in the next 3 or 4 or maybe 5 years max, we will start seeing headlines where quantum has been affecting some sort of centralized computers and networks.
If you understand this properly, like every individual who is denying it right now or they are waiting for it, indirectly they are participating in it, because a lot of users would be holding their funds in wallets or centralized exchanges. Those centralized exchanges would have a custodial partner that is a larger institution. And imagine those larger institutions are seriously thinking about it, implementing those safety measures by working with companies like Diamante's and the quantum infrastructure. So indirectly, they are already exposed to it. They can deny about it, they can wait about it, but industry has already started moving forward, and sooner or later they are going to acknowledge that as well.
Chirag, I've asked this, we spoke about it maybe a couple of minutes back, and I'm going to ask this again very explicitly. A user like myself, what can I do today? Like you said, if you're not already doing something about it, you're part of it. So what can I do today to kind of really prevent myself from being exposed?
So honestly, you don't need to do anything today because there are no quantum computers out there. The only thing that you can do as of today is to make sure you're educating yourself by listening to podcasts like this, by interacting with people who are already working on quantum side of it, and that would give an edge towards other users who are not aware of it. And that is something that we have been doing as well, educating people, making sure there is good awareness, so that when the time is right, when there is a mandate that we all of them need to switch to a quantum infrastructure, we are quite aware of it, and your assets would be safe.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chirag is building the future that we cannot participate in it yet, but I guess we have to keep tabs and keep ourselves educated. That's what he's trying to say. Chirag, you said this often times on your timeline. You say markets will debate timelines and builders should focus on architecture. I love that quote, by the way, because I think it really helps us be focused on the actual core architecture, right? How does Diamante balance speed, privacy, and security without sacrificing one and the other?
Yeah, it was a tough challenge. And honestly, if those questions were directed to the CTO and the tech team that we have, they would go bizarre about it. So it's always thing when you start innovating on the tech side of it, when you are the first innovator, you are facing a lot of challenges. The thing is, every other network, when they were chasing behind the speed, the infrastructure costs, and when we started building up on it, we had times like months where our server bills were like exponential, that were not acceptable at all by the CFOs in the company. Those kind of challenges were then well addressed by the tech team to make sure we are reducing the infrastructure costs, still embedding those privacy and security within the network, and making sure it's kind of a light network that would achieve those higher TPS in place, and it would be more user friendly. Because when the tech team starts building something, they are more focused on embedding those privacy and security. Their only target was to make sure that Diamante was quantum proof before they could achieve those TPS, the infrastructure cost comes down. That's what was quite challenging, but we have addressed it quite well. And I think as of now, our nodes would be at par to any other server costs that other nodes would have, by still having those higher TPS in place and the quantum cryptography in place.
I think that that whole thing requires a lot of discipline, like you said, and of course, being ahead of the curve. And when the community, or maybe sometimes you even doubt yourself, right? And I think this is kind of leading into my next question. I want to talk about the psychology of being a founder. Because Chirag, you are building a very complex, I would say, product, or rather infrastructure, a quantum resistant L1. Meanwhile, when you log into Twitter or X and you see other founders making millions on meme coins or trading, or degens just kind of, showing their P&Ls. Honestly, I know it's frustrating, but my question here would be, how do you keep yourself grounded to this 10-year vision when the space is maybe distracted within 10 seconds?
Yeah, it's quite difficult, to be honest. If I would say it's quite easy, that's not an honest answer. And any founder saying, passing through this life cycle, if they say, okay, I keep my focus throughout, I'm sure like 99% of the founders wouldn't be able to do that. So there were many chances where we already started doubting ourselves, what we are doing. And that's a very, normal human behavior that we have. But the only thing keeps me and my team going is the core vision that we have, focus to reach the goal. Even if we doubt, we help out each other. Like there have been instances, someone from the tech team wants to give up. There have been instances where I wanted to give up and start doing something else.
Yeah.
But the group that we have within Diamante make sure we are helping each other. We are not, disturbed by the noises. Just keep focus. And especially this is something, I'm not sure everyone speaks about it or not, but the support that we get from our families and friends, that is the most important thing. Particularly the other builders within the space. I have had conversations with a lot of builders. They have continuously backed us, made sure we start fresh whenever we doubt ourselves. We recharge and keep on building. And big shout out to the investors that we have as well. They have kept very patient when, quantum world was just, kind of not even a narrative. It was just something very less people would have heard about it.
Yep.
They believed in us. They made sure whatever we were focused on, we keep focusing on that. They backed us and they keep backing us. So that is something that is very important for any founder to stay focused. And I have had a wonderful team, and that is what has helped us, to grow and be here right now. And this is something that will also help us grow in the future as well.
I can absolutely sort of relate to an extent, and of course, very well said in terms of the community, the investors, and the stakeholders that have backed you, because you aren't playing the short-term game. You guys are playing the long-term game clearly, and oftentimes this is where a lot of crypto founders will take a step back, maybe abandon their ship, or just walk away, because in these dark times, especially in this industry, it's very easy to get distracted and just kind of jump on a new ship, right? So I think kudos to you guys, and I think this is also, Chirag, this is also where you often mention you use the phrase very often, steady lads, right? Kind of also implying that calmness in a storm that you often face as a team, or maybe as a community as well, right? So I guess that kind of makes sense now that you've said all of this basically. But Chirag, I wanted to say something.
Yeah. So a quick mention, like when you talk about we have like the steady hats within a team, I would like to mention that we as a team are very, very aggressive with our deep calmness in place. That keeps us focused.
No, you actually, you know what? I was just going to say my next question was a little bit more about your team and yourself, right? Shine some light on your personal background. Shine some light on your CTO. I've met him as well, by the way. Super geek and chat and giga brain as well. But tell us a little bit more about yourself and your team and this awesome army that you guys have built.
For those listeners who don't know me, who have not met me, who have not listened to my podcasts or interviews before, I'm Chirag. I'm the founder of Diamante. We started our Diamante journey back in 2018. As soon as I completed my university, we started focusing on finding solutions that would enable, swift movement of payments across geographies. And that is a thought that made us start Diamante. But the focus has always been that we wanted to bring utility to the whole Web3 ecosystem, because in my earlier days when I entered Web3, there were like bizarre projects like Banana Coin, which has no utility. So Ripple was a very great inspiration. They wanted to solve real world problems, and that's what inspired us. Like there are capabilities within the blockchain space where you can bring real life utility to the ecosystem, and that's what had driven us to build Diamante. So me, my CTO, my whole team. So we have team members who are stuck with Diamante since inception, and that is a core that we have. And until and unless there is Diamante going to be alive, we are going to stick together with a core vision and focus to build what we have been building. And along the lines, we understood that a lot of chains were chasing just the numbers, which were not at all useful to the users. There was no utility in it. And that's when we made sure that we would make sure that we bring something to the ecosystem that might not be needed right now, but definitely after 5 or 10 years, whenever someone says that there was a chain that made sure more than $2.4 trillion worth of assets were protected by the quantum attacks. Even if they don't know my name or our team's name or the CTO's name, they would definitely know Diamante's name, that Diamante was a chain that made sure our assets were protected. Something like how Bitcoin is embedded within the whole Web3 ecosystem. So we had a core vision. We wanted to create a name that would make sure that after 10 years or even after 20 years, the chain still stands and people remember the chain, and it doesn't matter if they remember the founder or the CTOs or anyone. And that's what exactly, we have seen through the history as well, because I really like to learn from the history. Like the certificates that we use on the website, the HTTPS, right? The SLS. No one knows who is the founder of it. No one knows exactly. But it's like, we don't talk about it anymore. It's a key part of the whole ecosystem within the internet. And that's what exactly quantum security is going to be after 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Very, very well said, Chirag. And I can tell the ambition and the vision and the aggressiveness is clearly outlined. And of course, you've said it very well, that this is maybe something that people will not appreciate today, but definitely something that people will understand what you are building today for the future. And, I am pretty sure that people will remember the core intent and the results that you guys will be delivering in the very near. I mean, you're already delivering, by the way, and what you guys will be building. Mainnet was just kind of day one all over again. From what you guys have started in 2018. So pretty impressive. I'm not sure if this is being shared anywhere else, but Chirag and team are one of the few that have successfully raised capital from the Abu Dhabi Royal Family. Chirag, tell us the backstory of that. Is it the vision? Is it the team that have won this funding onto Diamante's early journey?
Absolutely. I really like to speak about the good backers that we have. One of the best backers that you can get in the space. They might not be the biggest VCs, but they are one of the largest, fund houses in the world.
Right.
So when they discovered what was the core vision, ultimately, vision is very important to them. They like to go through all the documents that you have, or they like to speak with you in a very deeper manner. What is the core vision and the vision that you have, as well as they believed, and us as a team, and particularly us, me as a founder, like they clearly saw that okay, this is not something that's they're going to be scammed. They
Very
saw the potential what we had. They saw the hunger that we had to bring something very innovative to the market, and that's why they backed us, and they still keep backing us.
I think that's as real as you can get, right? Because like you said, I'm not here to build some banana coin, but here to actually build a real utility that will live on for years, be appreciated, but be used most importantly, right? Because me being in the industry for now, almost 7 years now, can also say that sometimes, very little apps or protocols or products that you can actually say that has changed the industry for good. Right. So I can tell why you guys have scored some really big investors, and, your backers are no joke. Right. And like you said, they might not be the most fanciest VCs, but they are ones with heavyweight that have brought you to this level. And of course, will continue supporting you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Chirag, you mentioned you recently also put up a very visual, a very interesting visual comparing the early internet security evolution to blockchain's current state. If one were to close their eyes, let's say you close your eyes today and imagine this is 2035, where do you see quantum shift has happened, and where do you see Diamante in that entire ecosystem?
I don't want to get into timelines. It can be 2030, 2035, but definitely by 2035, what you would see is people would stop talking about quantum because it would have been embedded already into all the ecosystem. It can be Web 2, Web 3, your banking. Because let's say 20 years back, when we had computers, capable enough of just solving simple problems, our passwords were very simple. We didn't have two-factor authentications in place.
Right.
As soon as the computational power kept on growing, the passwords became complex. And then we saw two-factor authentication. Then we saw biometrics coming into the picture to make sure our devices, our assets, our data were safe. So we don't talk about like, okay, do we need a stronger password? Do we need two-factor authentications right now? It's a must thing to have.
It's
and
a new
that's what
normal.
has happened, yeah. By 2025, every system would have those safety measures in place, and Diamante would have ideally billions and billions of transactions happening on chain, because as an early player in the market, as the only player in the market right now, we are going to definitely have an advantage over other players. We are going to attract a lot of institutions to start building with us, and that's what exactly that is happening. And like how Bitcoin started a lot of Web3 interests, the whole security and the quantum interest is definitely going to be started by Diamante as an ecosystem.
That's massive, man. That's massive, right? Because what I would say is that everyone today is, like you said, if you walk that journey of timeline, doesn't really know. I mean, it's the same thing that we say today, right? Like we talk about Web 2 and Web 3. In the very near future, there's not going to be Web 2 and Web 3. There's just this one web or internet that we know as a global internet, where blockchain is being the global rails or infrastructure for everything possible, right? Education, finance, entertainment. And what you're saying is eventually when quantum hits reality and hits us on the face, Diamante will already be well positioned in the back end. And of course, in the front end, where we will be physically, or let's say, interacting with these DApps or the ecosystem in the whole.
Absolutely. And you would also see a lot of, ecosystem, hopefully that is, powered by Diamante.
Talk about ecosystem. You guys have a massive following. You guys have a massive community. You guys have been building and doing a great job on that. What's the one thing, Chirag, that you would say the community that you have built and these core investors, your token holders, what is the one thing that you think that the Diamante community will remember when the quantum storm finally hits?
The first thing Diamante community would remember is like Diamante started as a different version than security was fully embedded, and there were a lot of delays that happened, to bring the quantum network to the market. But still, we are one of the earliest one. So I just would like to talk about the negatives first, what they would remember. Then they would definitely remember our patience had really paid off.
Right.
And that is the biggest win we could ever have. Because if a Diamante community member can say, we were the part of the ecosystem that changed the whole security and privacy perspective within the Web3 ecosystem, we will be the proudest founders and team within the space.
It's well said, actually, because this is where I would say community members, especially in this industry, don't have the patience, right? They very quickly conclude on the founders or their team's intention based on, of course, the price action. And again, I'm not going to say they're entirely wrong because of the hundreds and thousands of projects that have launched and perhaps rugged or scammed. But essentially, this is one of those projects that time will speak for itself, and you guys will prove that you were not wrong. You were just early.
Absolutely.
You talk about ecosystems, Chirag, and something I just mentioned, being early and maybe not wrong, requires a big force of education. What other, I don't want to say competition, but what other players in this industry right now that are trying to work within the quantum niche in Web3 would you want to talk about, or let's say are helping educate the users and stakeholders about it?
Yeah, there have been multiple instances when we have heard news about a lot of projects talking about quantum security, and that's what we have been seeing since past 3 to 4 months. The narrative has started picking up,
Especially
large centralized exchanges have been speaking about it without needing them. A few of the biggest founders in the space have been speaking about it. The thing is, I don't consider competition when it comes to security.
Yep.
The thing is, the whole space would require security, and I don't think so Diamante as the only L1 would be able to achieve and cater to the whole industry.
Absolutely.
And so we want people to build on it. We want people to make sure that they are seriously thinking about it. And if some chains have started building on top of it, and if they get stuck somewhere else, we are more than happy, to educate them as well. If there are projects that they want to get more information about how to make sure that the project is more quantum proof in the near future, we as a team and we as a company, we are more than happy to educate, because we think the more and more people get educated about it, it would be a healthy industry. All our assets would be safe. Imagine, let's say there is a quantum attack and the industry is not ready.
Yep.
And half of the industry assets get wiped off. There is no more Diamante, there is no more Bitcoin. So we need to make sure we work in hand as an industry together, that we are safeguarding ourselves, the whole Web3 ecosystem to the quantum.
And no one wants that. No one wants to be washed out, man. If there's no Bitcoin, there's no crypto. If the price, if your funds in your wallet just washed away one random day. So I absolutely agree. And I think you said it absolutely right. Of course, I don't see, just like you said, I don't see them as competition, because I think it requires a force of strong players to educate the entire industry and market. And the market's huge. And I personally believe, just like you said earlier, I think not even 0.1% of the people actually understand what quantum can actually expose us to, right? So the market size and of course the impact it has is huge. And together, we should help each other educate, essentially. Chirag, I want to go a little bit more to the fun part. Like you said, I don't want to scare people. And of course, we've spoken a lot about the threats and the impact and of course, what future lies for us. But I want to have a quick rapid fire. I'll ask you some questions. You have 30 seconds. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Most overrated trend in crypto right now?
AI agents, making payments to each other.
Shit. Okay. I thought that was the future, and you're saying that's the most overrated. I want to hear some more thoughts about this later, but I'm going to stick to it. 30 seconds, you're saying. Okay. Who is one builder or founder in crypto that you truly respect?
Satoshi.
Tell me you've seen him before.
I hope so.
Okay. If you weren't building Diamante, which industry would you be building a company in right now?
I would be brewing beers.
Interesting. Okay, I like it. I know I've partied with you in a couple of conferences, and I can tell you this guy is a hardcore. He plays hard, but he parties harder, man. Quantum will destroy Bitcoin.
I don't think so.
Thank you, sir. That's one answer that I was deeply looking for. The one chain you actually respect, even as a competitor or not?
Mainnet.
Okay, interesting. Again, I would like to answer, dive deeper into that later. But what's the one biggest bottleneck to adoption right now? Tech, education, or incentives?
Education.
Perfectly said. Well, I mean, Chirag, I think there's a lot of things that I'd love to, dive deeper into. But before you go, AI agents, overrated. Really?
Yes, absolutely. And why I would say this is a controversial statement when the narrative is so hot? Because there are a lot of security lapses that it needs to encounter, and that is the biggest challenge. That what I feel. I would never, put my wallets, or I would never put my bank accounts in front of AI agents, just because of the security perspective.
Interesting. I thought that was the future, but interesting that you say that. And it's very valid that you say that as well. Chirag, this has been an absolute masterclass for me. I mean, there's a lot of things that we've discussed. And of course, from the interesting threats to the potential of what Diamante is solving as a problem, but not just a problem, a real use case that's eventually going to hit us in the face very soon. And I love the fact that you guys are taking the education first approach. And of course, this is going to not stop here, and we're going to have multiple conversations. And hopefully I can be sort of the drive in helping educate this to people that watch Base Show as well. So guys, I really hope that you guys have been educated in one way or the other today. But Chirag, absolute pleasure. And before you go, please let us know where can we find you so I can drop some links here for the viewers.
First of all, thanks a lot for having here, and to all the listeners, to this part at the end. Thanks a lot for listening to us. So you can find me on X and you can find me on Telegram. So X is the best way you can connect with me. You can DM me. My X handle is Chirag Jetani. So just find me over there and get in touch with me.
Guys, I will drop some links here for you, but thank you so much, Chirag, and it was an absolute pleasure having you, man.
Thank you for your time. I had a lot of fun today.
Likewise, man. Likewise. Thank you, sir.